We shift our focus to Russia, where the Russia Defense Ministry has said that the Russian forces have captured Novoselivka, which is located in Ukraine's southeastern Dnipropetrovsk region. Moreover, as per the Russian Center Battle Group units, they have struck the forces and equipment of 3 Ukrainian mechanized brigades, a territorial defense brigade and a National Guard brigade. This comes after Ukrainian emergency crews in Odesa were seen battling flames engulfing buildings and vehicles following what local media described as a Russian drone attack. Footage released by the State Emergency Service also showed firefighters rushing to put out intense blazes after reports of 4 explosions over a half-hour period late Wednesday night. Meanwhile, on the diplomatic front, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy is in Paris today with the coalition of the willing that is going to discuss security guarantees for Ukraine in the event of a peace deal with Russia. I have with me Paul Goncharov. He is a financial analyst. He's joining me from Moscow. Paul, thank you very much. And, with fresh reports of Russian offensive in southeastern part of Ukraine, visuals playing on our screens of the local firefighters in Odesa trying to douse the flames after the military strikes by the Russian armed forces in Odesa. What do you think is going to be the outcome of the coalition of the willing talks that are currently underway, especially with the reservations that have been expressed by Russia over the security guarantees by the Western nations, by NATO, to Ukraine?
Yeah, thank you for having me. Well, look, the meeting that's happening now in Paris between the so-called coalition of the willing and Vladimir Zelenskyy, is just circling around the same drain, going around and round, because frankly, there's a much larger scandal. Although it's hard to believe that there is anything that could be more scandalous than war. But in this case, sources that I have, both in Europe and in the United States, seem to lean in the direction that nobody really wants a ceasefire at this point. And I'll explain. A ceasefire for the political elites, let's say in the first case of the EU, would mean a possible evidence of massive fraud, because maintaining the conflict after it ends would open a Pandora's box of fraud, corruption, theft, collusion, and these are things that no politician wants on their plate to be identified. So it's a much more convenient reality to have a low-grade continuing conflict. Putting boots on the ground in Ukraine, sponsored by the EU, is a non-starter. They know it, the world knows it, and most certainly Russia knows it. So This is a very tricky situation.
Absolutely. Quickly, one more question for you. President Putin has justified the Russian war against Ukraine, talking about, number one, how NATO expanding itself and wanting to include Ukraine has been the one point of contention, and therefore the justification for Russia to strike Ukraine. The second point being the 2014 quote-unquote coup d'etat that was supported by the Western allies of Ukraine, and the dissenters within Ukraine being silenced by force after the 2014 elections that took place. How do you have to react to that? Of course, the Western world is at this point of time calling these reasons to be unjustified.
Well, I think they're fully justified. And I'm speaking as an American here in Moscow. I've seen it with my own eyes, been there, touched it. This has been a pressure campaign by NATO since day one, since the 1990s. The spark that created the fire was, of course, the Maidan coup d'etat. If one goes diligently through the events of that time, including the cookies from Victoria Nuland, you can see that this was not a popular uprising. And the war that began at 2014 was really the new Kiev regime against its own Ukrainian citizens who were living in the eastern part of the Ukraine, in the Donbass and Lugansk areas. So Russia only came in relatively late in 2022. So really the attacks began a lot earlier.
Right. All right. So that's Paul. Paul, thank you for giving us your perspective on things. On that note, let's shift our focus to the